Here is chapter 2. We're going to talk about suffixes, and that essentially means that we're going to start at the end of the word. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go through some of the key suffixes throughout this whole entire chapter, and also some of the different types of things. I'm not going to go through each of the different tables and read out what each one of the individual things means, because that's not going to be beneficial. I know that I keep on saying that, and I'm probably going to read through some of them, but sorry. When you're looking at a suffix, the suffix is added at the end of the word to change the meaning of the word or create a new word. So a suffix can be added to a prefix, or root, or combining form. We can have something like gastro or gast, which has to do with the stomach. Add ic means pertaining to. So gastric means pertaining to the stomach. If you change the suffix, If you change the suffix into itis from ic, you still have the same start, the gastra. Itis, gastritis, which means inflammation of the stomach. So you go from pertaining to ic to itis, meaning inflammation of. A compound suffix can mean that you add multiple different types of suffixes to go together, or multiple portions of a word. So you can have something like ectomy. It has 3 individual components. Ec means out or outside of. Tom means to cut. And E is a process. So ectomy is a surgical process of excision, removing something. So a tonsillectomy is removing your tonsils. An appendectomy is removing your appendix. When you're looking at the meaning of a word, the meaning of the suffix comes first when you're defining the actual term, then the meaning of the prefix, and then the meaning of the actual root or combining form. So if we look at gastrectomy, then you would read it as surgical excision, removal of the stomach, gastrectomy, or gastrectomy. So it's the surgical excision of the stomach. That's the order that you end up doing it. You say what the suffix is first, and then you say whatever else is after that. Suffixes, when you're writing them by themselves, have a hyphen in front of them. That signifies that there is going to be something else that would be added in front of that. It's at the end. So you can see that written alone, it's ectomy. Written in a word, we have gastrectomy. So here's a variety of different types of suffixes that are generally used. Algesia is condition of pain. Ace is an enzyme. Ate is use, blast, to germinate, or it's the beginning forming cell. Side is to kill. Crit is to separate. Cuspid is point. Cyst is a sac, site is a cell, drome is running together or combining. Gen is formation, so is genesis. Ive is the nature of a general thing or a quality of something. Leader is having to do with a leader. Ology or logy is the study of. Lymph is having to deal with lymph, or it's a clear fluid. Or is one who does something. Fill is the attraction or love of, which is a really weird thing. So, like, if you end up looking at it in the case of the example that it uses, so like basophil, that just means that it was dyed with a basic stain. So it's attracted to this basic stain, which is weird, but that's what fill means. Stasis, to stop. Therapy, treatment. Thermi, heat. Is a tissue or a structure. Urea is urination, and that is that whole entire list. Those are the common ones. If you can get through that whole table and look through all of these different things, even just knowing those will help you a long way throughout this whole entire thing. They're also fairly straightforward, and they're generally ones that hypothetically you've experienced in your life before. So seeing something like Gynecology is the study of the gynos, or female anatomy. When you're looking at grammatical structures of suffixes, grammatical structures are generally attached to a root word to form a part of speech, generally a noun or an adjective. So you can have it so that these suffixes change things from a noun to an adjective, or an adjective to a noun. They can also make things so that it's either singular or plural, and sometimes they can change the object that is indicated by the root word itself. Essentially, if you look at all of these, you can see specific types of suffixes that are used for creating an adjective. So it's different ways of pertaining to all of these different things. There's even more. One of the unfortunate things is that it's actually fairly difficult to determine when you would use something like us versus tick versus us versus e. And a lot of that has to do with the other different types of preceding roots or other linkers. There's a lot of different types of suffixes that make something into a noun and mean that it is a condition, treatment, or specialist of that type of thing. You can see all of these. Once again, it makes it kind of difficult, and you need to look at all of these other different types of things that are going up in front of it. If you're making something small, then you need to use a diminutive suffix. I can't say that word. I don't know why. Diminutive suffix. So that essentially means that you add something on at the very end to make it so that it's small. So bronchiole is a small bronchi. Macula is a small macu, or a small spot. Pustule is a small pus thing. It's adding the diminutive to make it so that it is small or minute. You can also have pathologic conditions of something. Generally, they refer to pain, weakness, swelling, softening, inflammation, and or a tumor. And they're combined with the root form or the combining form for different types of body parts. You can see all of these here. There's actually some of them that we've already talked about already. And throughout this whole entire chart, we have our suffix, we have our meaning, we have the pathological condition as an example, and then what that condition actually refers to. Here's more. One of the ones that you should also really know is itis. So itis is inflammation of. That comes up actually relatively often. Here's more. And more. Oma is a tumor. So that's why oftentimes you'll end up having some sort of cancer-based things are going to end with an oma. Remember, as we talked about before, if you have a PT, generally you only pronounce the T. With this RRH type of stuff, then you just pronounce it as if there is no RH in the middle. So rage, so hemorrhage, so rage, rhea, rhinorrhea, it's runny nose, rhexis, rupture, so myorrhexis, rupture of a muscle. You can also have suffixes that are associated with surgical and diagnostic procedures. Generally, that means that there's going to be different types of suffixes when you are removing something, adding something, measuring something, opening something, puncturing something. Oftentimes, this essentially just takes the body part and adds whatever the suffix actually is. And those suffixes look like this. Synthesis is puncturing, clasis breaking, desis is binding, ectomy is removal. So a vasectomy is removing the vas deferens. Gram is weight or record. Graph is a recording instrument. Graphy is a recording. Eyes is to make or to treat or combine with. Lysis is destruction, separation, breaking. Meter is, once again, a type of instrument to measure something. Metry is measurement. Opsy is to view. Pexy is a surgical fixation. Phoresis is to remove. Plasty, surgically repair. Raphy is a structure. Raphy is suture. Raphy is suture. Scope and scopy, the instrument or the act of looking. Stomy is opening. Tome is an instrument to cut. Tomy is an incision. Tripsy is crushing. And that concludes the entire presentation. I hope that this was helpful. Once again, I'd suggest trying to just create different types of things or change some different words in your own personal verbiage to use these different types of things. Removing a potato from a place would be a potatectomy. You are making mashed potatoes, which would be a potatripsy. Good times. Anyway, prefixes are next. See you then.